A great day to you, yes. Welcome back to this forum with me, Dr. Kenneth Niles. It's a pleasure to be in your house, in your car, in your workplace. Oh, did I say workplace? During lunchtime. Yes, wherever you are, it's a pleasure to come into your space and to share with you again. I'm just reading here from the Holy Bible. Yes, my phone. Proverbs 22:6. Train up a child in the way he should go, and when he is old, he would not depart from it. Very interesting words, and I'm most interested in the child and old. Sometimes I think that it is not something that we remember, that our children grow up and they get old. It's important for us to understand that the child is developing, the child is growing, and the child therefore in that growing will have certain changes. And I want to talk about that today, about the child's voice, the good, the bad, the ugly. And that's how sometimes we identify that voice. How do we work out the voice of the child? You might wonder, why voice? Because that's what helps us to know initially the child's alive. When that child comes out of the womb, there's a slap on the bottom from the doctor or maybe the midwife, and you hear, wow, the child's alive. So we start off with a sound, S-O-U-N-D. We start off with that reassurance of life from that sound. After that, there are several sounds that alerts a particular response. So you hear a cry, you respond, and you decide the child is hungry, the child is wet, or the child is very discomforted. And because you cannot hear English, and the child may not be comprehensive. What's the word? Comprehensive? It is of English language. You might say, okay, let me rock you, let me walk you, but I want you to shut up. So yes, we want a sound, but yes, we do not want a sound. So we grow up in that year, that first, let's say, that first year especially, the first 18 months, try to determine how and what these sounds mean. But the child is working, and those sounds are usually good, because it helps you to define who the child is. So after a while, if you hear sound at 9 o'clock, it may be that the child needs a bath or a walk. Or if you hear a sound next 2 hours after that, the child may need breastfeeding, or the child may need a shake, or the child may just need to be in your arms and you're there comforting. So that there is a response from parents with that S-O-U-N-D of that child. As the child grows older, let's say 3-4 months, there is the cooing, and you find that it's important for you to hear that, because in hearing that sound, your child is working through a more perfected growth. There are no inhibitions. If you don't hear that, you're concerned. If by the time the child gets to a year and there are no babblings, the child has to start babbling by 18 months, you are again concerned about that, and you wonder what's happening with the child's brain. You wonder if there's a deformity. They wonder if the child is going to be dumb. The child has this developmental disability. There's a lot of things happening, but that sound. So therefore, it's important for you to relate to that sound. When that sound, by the 2 years, leaves the cooing and the babbling and the gabblings and gets into words, wow, that sound is no longer very good. It becomes bad to you, because one of the things that we have to acquaint ourselves with in terms of where we're going, in that first year and a half, that first 2 years, there's the issue of attachment, where the child is really coming to you as a parent, mother. The breastfeeding is so important for that attachment and the nurturing, the father, the holding breast on the chest, the heartbeat response, etc. And the child is going well. And because there is this lack of English language, or native language, as I say, native language, wherever you live, you speak back. You speak in your tongue, where the child has its own tongue. And there is that level of, as I said just now, you learn that. But by the time the child starts to speak some semblance of your own tongue, you are, wow, he talking. Usually the first word you might hear is dada, or something that refers to papa or father, and then you have other words. But one of the most strongest words that we have to look at in terms of the child around that age, between 2 going on to 3, is no, nay, nah. How do we respond to that? How do we work out that? Now, during that time, according to my favorite researcher and philosopher, we want to call him Erickson, we learned that age is when they're establishing autonomy as against shame, because the child is looking to work out that attachment that they've gone through with assurance. If there has been no attachment, or there have been attachment issues in that first 2 years, you are going to have the issues again now of the child verbalizing and wanting to be affirmed by you. So therefore, there's going to be a greater no, and I say greater here, the no is going to be stronger. No is going to be more definite. And with that no, there's going to be other displays of negativity in terms of dropping oneself, into the tantrums, into the throwing things, because the child is not saying much, but the child is experiencing those emotions that wants to find itself in a place of acceptance. Because of the lack of attachment, because of the insecurities of that first year of really bonding with mother and father, and sometimes with siblings, it's important for us to hear the sound again. What am I hearing? When I hear no, when I hear nah, when I hear a sound of a crashed toy or a crashed plate, or I hear a thud because the child has thrown himself down, those are sounds. And those are sounds that are what I would say speaking. Remember, you are still training up the child in the way he should go, and that child is growing from 0 up, and therefore every year, and there is a transitioning in terms of what is going to be now as it was not then. And we have to be very mindful of those things, so that when I get into this stage where there is the striving for autonomy, I want to be something. I want to find my own will here. I want to be able to say, yes, I can do this, because I'm seeing by the that is doing things, and nobody's telling them don't. There's nobody saying come here, and they don't understand that even if there's a don't, they can't capture that. But what they are capturing is that sense of emotion, where there is that I am satisfied, or I see that smile, or I feel that assurance from the way I'm hugged, or the way I'm taken by your hand. And those are sounds that you can't seem to interpret, but they are real. And I want you to pay attention, young parents who could say, well, I should have known. That's okay. We have to recognize that there is a voice. Children, even at 2, have a voice, and it's important for us to see as they transition into 4, into that 4 to 6 era, that they are changing again. And you will say, what does a child at 4 know? What does a child at 4 want? he wants to define now initiative. There's going to be that sense of doing things, making. But by this time, the child would have gone through the 2s and the 3, gets into the sand pit, go making, holding things. They don't see you in the kitchen. They don't see you sweeping. They don't want to dress like you. So we'd have had some of them wearing high heel shoes, coming into, pulling something down to want to see. They want to break something. You give them a toy and they break it up because they want to see how it's made. And you're wondering, is that real? Yes, it's not a reflection of the environment. No, it's a reality of the brain working itself in its natural form for development. Before we say all those negative things, learn why the child is going through these motions. Why? Because it's development. The child is not staying 0. The child is not saying 2 for long. 365 days, the child turns 3. 365 days or 66, the child turns 4. Are you changing, parent? We must walk through this transition with our children very keenly and come to that place where we can appreciate what's happening here. We have to be aware of how to transition. And I want this to be something that you put in a book and says, yes, I am working with a child who is growing, not a child who is just a baby. And one day, oh gosh, the child gets big. I want to know the child is growing. And so, by the time the child gets fall into that place, it's called initiative. And they want to be able to be doing things and to hear, hey, that's a nice thing. And I know over the last 10 years, we have this cliche phrase, good job. We tell children that. And it sounds cliche-ish, and I may not use it. I may say definitely, that was an attempt, and I see you improving. Rather say good job, because good job seems like it is ended here. No, it's not beginning. It's now starting. Good job, yes, but we have to go a little better than that and say, hey, let's see how better you could do. That's a very good thing you do, child, or son, or daughter. I like what you did there. That I see that you expanding here. I see that you bringing a new level here. You got to learn how to speak to the child for the child to hear the encouraging words, because they are doing new things. I want to bake a cake. No, it may not be in those words. And you say, leave that alone. No, hold on. Hold their hand. Stir. Say, okay, mommy or daddy is making a cake. You would like to help? This is what you can do. Hold on. After this, you have to stop. See, we sometimes are impatient with language. We are very impatient to say what needs to be said, and all we do is just give these snarls and these short instructions and hope that the child will follow. But the child at that age is working itself into that place of purpose. I want to be able to establish that context of who I am. Now, in that initiative place where I'm trying to find myself, play is important, because that way is my energy is being worked out. So I'm very playful, and here it is. We are constantly saying, don't run, don't jump, sit down. Oh, we love to use that sit down phrase. Let me tell you something. You are giving yourself a heartbreak when you say sit down so often. What you have to learn to do is to monitor that child. Monitor that child in terms of how that child is working the play as working the initiatives. So I am breaking something up to put it back again. Help put it back again. Don't say, oh my gosh, what's I going back again? Sit down with the child and say, okay, I see you pull this apart. Let's see if we can work it together. And you teach them something new. So I want you to see that it's important for us to hear the voice then. Hear the laughter, hear the cries, even hear the or even hear the silence. It's how we work. Now, one of the things that if we do not encourage that feeling of initiative, they're going to feel guilty. They're going to pull away. And then they're going to hide to do things because they don't want to hear weirdo, bad boy, come here, you're hurting, stop running. So they find themselves in a little hole, in a little space where they can do them what you call mischief. But it's all about creativity for them and learning to work with, hoping that there will be some kind of support from parent, mother or father, and even some siblings in working that. We go on here in terms of the children, and I'm going to look at this area either here at 12 because we deal with child. From 7 to 12, we have an industry. At that time, a child thinks. I know my son, even at that age, was beginning to make money. He would carry books in his bag, storybooks, and people would pay 25 cents to read them. I heard from another child, another young man recently who was making money with bus tickets at a very early age. So you don't want the child to feel inferior until they say no. And I remember me, I said, what? You don't sell, not sell. You're making money, you're giving boys and girls your books. Our books, you carry them there, you 25 cents to read. And it was like, wow, okay, daddy. But I didn't realize at that time, that was 30-something years ago, that I was infringing here on a very enterprising initiative that could have caused him to be. I had to really reconsider my ways. Eventually helped. I wasn't as learned maybe as I am today, but I understood that kind of feeling that he had and revisited the issue with him, and of course allowed him to define it. By the time he was 13, just after 12 there, he went again and he started to do this thing. And then I was able to say, okay, go ahead. I'll bank the money for you. I will help you with this. So he appreciated that what he was doing was not wrong, but what he was doing had a very successful part. But the most important thing was that daddy gave him a tick. He was congratulated, he was honored, he was encouraged, and we need to see how to work that. It's very important to realize that all of a sudden it could be bad language. And the bad part is when they are working through all those negative issues of shame and guilt and inferiority, feeling that they have no worth because of how they were treated, and then you get the ugly. And the ugly, as I said early on, is manifested through those behaviors of tantrums and throwing. And then by the time they get older, by 7, they're slamming doors and they're hiding away and they're stupid and they're dragging and they're shouting. So that you are hearing those bad words. I want to help you today to understand that bad G word is again important. Your child is growing. The sound is important, as it was from the beginning on that slap. It's important right through their lifetime till post, elderly. That sound is going all the way through. It's important to realize that there is a cycle of change and transitioning because of the brain development into this context of where I am. So they want to be trusted as babies. They want to feel that warmth, that attachment issues of acknowledging the presence of parent. They want to understand that as they grow up, they could have a say of doing things without told it is wrong, and understanding how to encourage what you consider wrong differently. How do you say, don't throw that down? It's put it down carefully. How do you say, chew your food, or don't use your hands? Maybe you need to, maybe you don't. But how you say it, because they see they're hearing sounds. They cannot yet read or write. They're only hearing. And sometimes, especially in those early days, they're yet not even speaking articulately, but they're hearing sounds. You got to make sure those sounds are working for the brain positively, so that it's not just about you shouting, it's about what that shout means to them next 10 years, next 20 years. So they might grow up not wanting to shout, and every time they hear a shout, they shudder because they weren't allowed to express themselves calmly, and you respond calmly because they express themselves okay, but when you express yourself negatively, they become negative too. So we have to work out that context in how we are defining getting them to overcome guilt, overcome inferiority. Because you might be wondering, a 12-year-old, 10-year-old, yes, they feel inferior because they are not being encouraged in their skill development. The only thing you want them to develop right now at that age is to get into their first choice. We are only educationally pressed, and we press them with lessons. Do your work, because I want their first choice. Hold on. What we are to be establishing is a development of a character and personality that is coming through how we relate to their sounds and how we encourage them to be autonomous in order to be to have initiative, to be industrial. We want to help them to find themselves before they're 12. Don't wait to find. So you're not doing anything. You can't cook yet. You can't do this. You can't. And we complain. She can't make it to bed. She can't cook her food. She can't sweep this. She can't do this. But go and do your work. See, if you could get a child to be really free in their enterprise and to appreciate who they are as developing business people, if you want to use that word, or craftsmen, or artists, that child is going to be much more responsive to schoolwork. Because it is something now they will continue to do and you can be proud of them. Because you realize the way you respond to them in the home is the same way you end up saying, oh gosh, the child they had a hearing. We have to learn how to bring that order and establish those words. So we have to be careful with the ugly. We have the good at the beginning, those sounds, you work with them. You had the bad, where you struggle with the no and I wonder and who, and then you went on now and you establish the difference. No, we want to keep it good. We want to work out the bad. Bad is not bad. Bad is different. How you work that difference is important. And we want you to know that. So that I'm leaving you with this. I will also continue a bit next week, but I want to deal with the parent next week and to understand what their sounds are like. But today, it's important for you to listen to your child. Even from 0 age, right up, and we only stopped there at 12 because I didn't want to go, we talk about the child. Children go up to 12. After that, we start to talk about teenagers, and then we go to young adults, etc. But I want you to be those formative years of 0 to 12 are very important for you. Remember, you're training up a child the way you should go, and when they get old, they won't depart from it. This is Dr. Niles signing off today and saying to you, listen to the sound of your child's voice. Have a good day.